para la parte que vamos a tratar ahora. Hemos visto el concepto del día, hemos visto, digamos, el proceso, responsabilidad, aceptación, devoción y entrega. Hemos visto las técnicas como están muy bien explicadas en la documentación. Tampoco voy a ir un poco a los temas importantes. Hemos visto un poco la esencia del Karma Yoga y la esencia del Jnana Yoga, y ahora vamos a entrar en la parte esa de aceptación, devoción. Es la parte, digamos, es el 60% de la receta. Hablábamos de 30% son las técnicas de meditación, 10% es lo que podríamos llamar los 3 yogas, la autoayuda, con acciones, pensamientos, la parte que uno tiene que poner voluntariamente, y el 60% que es la devoción, eso es un don de Dios, como quien dice, por la gracia de Dios, ¿no? Es como el amor es algo que tiene que surgir, no es algo que tú puedas imponerte a ti mismo. So we have seen up to now the general concepts, the concept of the day, the different meditation techniques and how you apply them during a day, with the good morning practice, the tratak, then the 3 yogas. We've looked at that the meditation techniques are 30% of the recipe. Now the 3 yogas, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, which is also what you could call self-help, represents a 10% of the recipe. And then devotion, which is responsibility, acceptance, devotion, which is what we are going to treat now, which is Bhakti Yoga, the 3rd yoga, is 60% of the recipe. So, but that is something that you cannot, Bhakti Yoga is something that is a gift, in the sense that you cannot, is love. You cannot impose yourself to love. Love is something that has to happen. It has to happen by itself. It rises by itself. So it's by the grace of God, as one would say. But at the same time is the most important facet of what a teacher has to do with a student, which is open his heart or her heart. Pero es lo más importante que el profesor hace con un alumno, que es abrir su corazón, que es la parte de la devoción. Puede darse el caso, pero es raro que tengáis alumnos que ya vengan devocionados. Yo que sé, porque vienen devocionados, lo normal en este país sería Cristo, ¿no? You might get students that they come with a devotion to the personal God already established, and in this Western world we live, probably that would be Christ. But that is rare. The fact that someone declares himself a Christian or a Catholic or whatever doesn't necessarily mean that he has true devotion. Que pueden venir con esa devoción que no por el hecho de ser cristianos la tienen. Aunque te digan que sí, una verdadera devoción no la tienen. Pero la devoción, la única manera de transmitir la devoción que nosotros tenemos y la que utilizamos es Guru Raj. Y entonces lo hacemos ¿cómo? Con los satsangs. Le ponemos al alumno en algún momento. Yo utilizo siempre pero a lo mejor vosotros tenéis otro que os gusta más y podéis poner otro. Tiene que ser uno de esos satsangs generales que hable sobre todo de la parte devocional, de la parte del amor. So the way we do this is through Guru Raj. As the normal thing will be that devotion is not there present, still at least. We use Guru Raj as a tool to generate this devotion, and what we use is his satsangs, his recorded satsangs. I normally use this one. What I do is I put the satsang and add comments to the satsang. Yo normalmente les pongo el satsang y lo voy comentando para estresar los puntos importantes. Sí.
I'm sorry, el chef te llama al horno. Se desconectó. Se fue, no por la luz.
Sorry, I need to take care of the kitchen.
Problemas mecánicos, en serio.
Se fue la luz.
No, ¿qué va? Fue que como iba a darle ahora el ok, ya se había ido la función.
¿Cómo que se había ido la luz?
Going to close because past the fly.
Sí, mosca.
Mosca. Postman. Have you seen videos of
Guru? Yeah, some in England. My meditation teacher in Faisu we used to do some satsangs in his house, and there would be some meditations, and then we would watch some of the videos, the recordings, or listen to them. Some of them are not video, some are audio only. The mandala for me was amazing, but now I am tired. There's lots of energy. I think I'm like.
Me too. Me too. I told you before. I told you before. I so quiet.
For sure.
I have to ask to Ramon that he use the mandala every day.
Three times a week. He
Three
told me.
times a week.
I asked him. He said 3 times in 1 week.
Sí, se lo pregunto. No le quería parar. ¿Te puedo hacer una pregunta de lo del
Sí.
mandala?
Sí.
Sobre la técnica. Y ahora eso, ¿cómo lo empleamos? ¿Una vez a la semana? ¿Una todos los días?
Tres veces a la semana.
¿Aleatorio o con...?
3 veces.
Procurar que sean
no
espaciados.
seguidos, exactamente. Un día sí, otro no, un día sí, otro no, y los fines de semana no, por ejemplo.
Vale. ¿Y eso cuánto...?
Pero lo puedes hacer lunes, miércoles y viernes, por ejemplo.
¿Durante cuánto tiempo? Por darle por finalizado.
Entre,
Por lo que oigo de que...
entre regularmente, y si meditas regularmente, entre 9 y 18 meses, hasta que tú veas que ya estás listo.
Lo notas.
Lo notas, sí. So he's asking me how many times, 3 times a week, in alternate days. So for example, you could do it Monday, Tuesday, Friday, not Monday, Wednesday, Friday,
Yeah.
and nothing the weekends, for example. That can be a sort of thing. You do it a minimum of 9 months. If you are regular with every meditation, between 9 and 18 months, but it will come a time that you yourself will know that you are ready for the next step, and then you let me know.
Okay. And it's the same chakra every time?
No, not the next step. We will change the chakra.
But for now?
For now it's the
just
same chakra. Yeah. Bueno, y esto, a ver, bueno, esto no tengo que hacer nada, tengo que ir aquí. ¿Qué ha pasado ahora?
Si se hubiese ido, ¿no? Ahora.
Deadpool. Yay.
No. Okay. Why I'm not listening?
Negativity. If not, is the source of negativity a birth? Is God the author of negativity? Is God the author of negativity? If not, is the source of negativity apart from God?
Beautiful. Okay.
And the second question is, if we are not the doer, why do we bear the responsibility for everything that we do?
And now both these questions are based upon misconceptions. If divinity is omnipresent and within each and every cell of your souls, then negativity is also a product of God. Who said God is just positive only? What we have to learn is to see the positive side of God and portray it in our lives. Who can call the rain to be negative and the sunshine to be positive? They're both part and parcel of each other. If you have a cloudy day, who can say that the clouds are not important, although the clouds obscures the sun? But without those clouds which the sun itself has produced, there would be no rain, and you will have no food. So, all teachings, good teachings, would teach us to see both sides of the coin. How can you have a coin with one side only? You can't even buy a box of matches with it then, if it was only printed on one side. Mind you, it would be nice to find a coin with one side. It could become a collector's item. Do you see? But our duty is just to see the positive aspects of everything, because everything is positive. Even your negative thought, which you regard to be negative, is underlined with positivity. I'm feeling ill today. I'm trembling because of my sugar problem. Okay. But I see a beauty in it. So, why should I not tremble? Because of my blood condition, diabetes, so I'm trembling, and what's wrong with it? I accept it to be positive. And not wallow. And say, oh, this is negative, negative, negative. So, although divinity is composed of positivity and negativity, but we want to see positivity only. And the reason is this, that we want to try and be happy. Because there is greater happiness and peace in positivity. And yet the word itself, the opposite of it, unhappiness. Can you see? It's just the still happy. Right. So, we can negate negativity. Just throw away the Okay, but just straight away. And that is how we will see within ourselves everything positive, even in that which is negative. Someone slaps my face. Okay. Now that you regard to be negative. But I might be having a toothache, and that slap would perhaps cure that toothache. You see how we have to look at things so that all the negativity that surrounds us, all created by our thinking processes, the same energy can be used to bring it into positivity.
Esto es un poco de lo que hemos estado hablando ayer, por ejemplo, que es equilibrar lo negativo con lo positivo, que es lo mismo que decir que ver lo positivo que hay en lo negativo. Ver lo que te trae de bueno a ti lo negativo. Porque de hecho lo negativo es la mayor oportunidad que tenemos de traernos cosas buenas. Él pone el ejemplo, me dan una torta, que es negativo, pero a lo mejor tenía una muela mal y me la han sacado gratis, ¿no? Es un ejemplo tonto, pero hay un efecto positivo de esa torta que es negativa siempre. So this is basically what we've been speaking about yesterday, for example, which is negativity is always underlined by positivity. And balancing negative with positive is basically looking at the positive side of the so-called negative aspects of life. Taking into consideration that every negative aspect in your life is bringing something positive. He puts the example of I receive a slap in my face, you know, but I had a toothache and it was so hard to slap that, you know, my tooth was thrown away. I saved the dentist. You know, it is, you know, an example, but basically is what happens. If you really do that, you end up seeing the positive side of every negative, so-called negative aspect of life. To put you an example within the Christian tradition, you wouldn't have the story of Jesus Christ without Judas. Judas and Jesus had to be friends because they were putting together a show. Without Judas, you don't have the crucifixion, you don't have the show, you don't have the story, you don't have Christianity. So it is the divine itself interpreting Judas in this situation. And it is the divine itself making Judas do what he does to get the story together. And as I said yesterday, you cannot create any film, any Star Wars film or any film without Darth Vader. You know, there is this spaghetti western, the good, the bad and the ugly, ¿no? You need the good, the bad and the ugly. El bueno, el feo y el malo, ¿no? Es decir, el malo es parte de lo bueno y es parte integrante. No tendrías la historia de Jesucristo sin Judas. Tienen que ser amigos, tienen que ser... Cada uno interpretó su papel en esa obra de teatro. Pero el actor, que es esa divinidad que hay dentro de ti, da igual que esté interpretando un papel u otro papel. Es decir, sí ves la parte positiva que hay en todo. Es decir, no juzgas. In other words, it's not being judgmentals. Lions are not bad because they kill the gazelles. Los leones no son malos por matar a las gacelas. Malo, bueno es el juicio que hacemos. Good, bad is the judgment. And a non-judgmental mind is essential. Una mente que no juzga es esencial porque ¿quién eres tú para juzgar esto si no sabes ni lo que es? Because who are you to make any judgment? You don't even know what this is all about. What judgment are you going to make? About what?
So, Roman, on that then, so if good and bad are both judgments, should you not see the good as well then?
Yeah, good and bad are judgment. That's why I use negative, positive.
But if we're not going to judge, what I mean is...
Judge, I mean from the moral point of view.
Right, okay. But
So
you can still see the good and the bad, but you don't carry a moral judgment of good and bad.
Well, you see that the law of polarities. You see that lions are needed in the African savanna and gazelles are needed in the African savanna, and you cannot put, if you take the lions you would have too much gazelles, and if you take the gazelles you would not have lions. So you know, you just see that everything is part of one thing, and that one thing is good, so everything is underlined by good.
Okay.
So we continue. He continues with this topic throughout the satsang. Bueno, esto hace falta que lo...
So negate the negativity.
Se ha quedado sin señal.
And position yourself.
¿Y esto por qué ha ocurrido?
Yo creo que tiene que ser del cable o algo que se tiene que, ¿no?
No, debe ser... Lo voy a apagar y volver a encender. I'm going to... What you do with these things is shut down
Reboot.
and reboot, exactly.
That happened on an aeroplane once for me.
Eh?
The plane had an aeroplane in the airport had a problem.
And they had to
The
reboot.
pilot tried everything and he came out, he said, I'm going to have to shut down the whole aircraft and reboot. And we were all thinking, no.
Oh my God. Okay, let's see if now we make it work.
Right now.
Goes like too slowly. Something is happening, I don't know what. because, you know, I've taken one screen and it's still there. I don't know what the hell is happening. Shit. It's not picking well the signal for some reason. Okay. Let us see if this helps out the situation. Ahora parece que sí. Vale. Voy antes a asegurarme que el sonido está bien. Aquí.
In positivity. So, everything we feel or we observe, every thought that arises in us can be taken to its true value, for everything is a product of peace. And even in negativity and positivity, peace is there. But being patterned, having conditioned minds, people tend to look at the worst side of things. Oh, it's a cloudy day. Yes, I observe the cloudy day. I see it's dark and grey, but yet I know the sun is behind it. If you fly in an aeroplane, the aeroplane goes beyond the clouds, and then what do you see? Is the sun. So go beyond the negative, so-called negative clouds of life. And that is what our teachings are all about. As we read Kavita's letter, she says what she actually means. There's a subtle transformation in her because of her practices, and she always feels peace within. Now that is the condition that has to be created within us by ourselves. Positivity can never exist without negativity, and negativity cannot exist without positivity. But where is your attention? That is important, and that attention is created by the mind, and then the mind thinks, I'm the doer. Well, you're not the doer at all. Everything in life is done for you.
Eso está mal traducido. Todo en la vida está hecho para ti. Es decir, todo lo que la vida te trae es algo que no es que lo hayas hecho tú, es que la vida te lo ofrece, te lo pone delante, está hecho para ti. Es como funciona, de hecho, esta vida. I'm just clarifying the translation. So it's badly translated here, so you understand English, you don't need the clarification. Basically, just to say, to stress the point, everything is in life is not made by you, it's made for you. This is how this life works, you know, as we saw in the concept. It has been generated by you, but your circumstances are offered to you by life, but how that energy works, that divine energy that is expressed in this universe.
And I've said this many times before, you put in your 10%, and the 90% comes automatically. So that little 10%, that's what we need. By channeling our thoughts towards betterment, channeling our thoughts towards sunshine.
So the 10% of the self-help part of this story, which is, sitting down to do your practices, doing your karma yoga practices, doing your practices with your thoughts, the jnana yoga practices, that's your 10%. 90% comes by itself, is the energy that the techniques give you, is the, call it psychic powers or call it the competences that the mind unfolds by using the techniques, and your circumstances will be more and more gracious to you in the process. Es decir, tú pones ese 10%, que es hacer tus técnicas de meditación, tu karma yoga, tu jnana yoga, tu trabajo con los pensamientos, y el resto, que es la devoción que va a surgir en ti, que es las competencias que van a desarrollar las técnicas de meditación en tu mente, digamos, o los poderes psíquicos si quieres. Y todo eso llega solo. Ese es el 90%. Y eso viene solo.
How does this link to manifestation?
Well, manifestation and this universe is the same thing. I mean, manifestation is everything that is manifested. The unmanifest is by definition undescribable, because being unmanifest, what can you describe? How can you describe nothing? Nothing is not describable. What is nothing? Nothing is that there is not something, but you cannot describe nothing without making reference to something. While nothing is nothing. Well, the unmanifest is the unmanifest, non-computable, in other words. And that is the impersonal God, and that is in reality primordial consciousness.
And yet there are clouds in the sky, but the sun, to repeat again, is existing beyond the clouds. Now, can we call the clouds negative and the sun positive? No. The clouds are created by the sun. It is the sun itself with its heat draws a water vapor to form those very clouds. And we complain of the gloomy day. Who says clouds are gloomy? Who says your thoughts are gloomy? Your thoughts are positive. Always, but you look at it through gloom. A jaundiced person will see everything yellow. So we get rid of the jaundice of our minds. And the greatest jaundice that man suffers from is thinking he is the doer. How can he be the doer? He won't be able to walk from here to that door on your own, without that divine energy that is within you. You can't even lift a hand. You see. Here we come back.
Esto es básicamente un concepto muy importante que yo lo explico siempre con una forma muy técnica de hacerlo, que es: tú no mueves ninguna de tus moléculas, todas tus moléculas se mueven solas. Entonces, ¿dónde estás tú haciendo nada? Si las moléculas se mueven solas. Y ni una sola molécula de tu cuerpo ahora mismo, si hiciéramos una foto, estuvieran todas, se va a mover de una forma distinta a la que esté determinada por sus leyes físicas y químicas. De tal manera que si yo tuviera todos los datos, imagínate, yo soy una inteligencia artificial y sé dónde está cada molécula de tu cuerpo. Y qué moléculas tiene al lado y qué interacciones están haciendo esas moléculas sobre esa molécula y unas sobre otras. Y yo tuviera todos los datos, subiera todas las fórmulas, Podría decirte dónde va a estar Emilio. Si Emilio está en el momento T, en el momento T más 1, te podría decir dónde va a estar Emilio, ¿sí o no? ¿Se entiende? Luego, ¿dónde estás tú haciendo qué? Tú no estás haciendo nada. Eso está funcionando solo. Now, this is a very important concept and I explain it like this. But it is something that you have to realize yourself in your own life. But you are composed of thousands and billions of molecules, different molecules, right? And all of them move by themselves. You don't push the molecules yourself. If I had a picture of all your molecules, you know, imagine I have this capability, I have an artificial intelligence that gets a picture of you, and I have all the information of where every molecule is at this moment T. And I know all the laws that are governing chemically, physically, the movement of each of those particles. So as I know where they are in moment T, I can say where they are going to be in moment T plus 1, right or wrong?
Wrong.
No. What do you mean wrong? What you
They're
think?
going to move somewhere else, aren't they?
No. You imagine that. Imagine, let's put a simpler example. Imagine a billiard board, okay? And someone hits the ball. And I make a picture of that ball when it is moving towards the ball that is going to hit. But in that picture I know the force, the spin, the weight, the everything I need to know to predict where that ball is gonna hit, how the other ball is gonna react, because I know all the physics of the situation. So if I have the picture on time t, I can tell you where the balls are going to be in time t plus 1, and in time t plus 2, and so on and so forth. So I can predict where the balls are, right? Well, imagine your molecules as balls. I make a picture of all those balls, but I know everything I need to know of each ball, where it is, the energy it has, everything, all the physics that, and I know where they are in moment t, so I can tell where they are going to be in moment t plus 1, right or wrong?
Okay, right.
And then in moment t plus 2, the same. So where is Rachel doing anything? Rachel is doing nothing. That is working by itself. So the question is, where is Rachel? Rachel thinks she is the doer of those movements, but Rachel is not the doer of those movements. No. Rachel is the witness of those movements. And the witness of those movements is not Rachel. Rachel is a conditioned machine made out of molecules. ¿Se entiende? Continuamos.
Just one question. What about conscious intent?
What do you mean by conscious
So
intent?
if I deliberately want to, like I'm talking to you now, it's because I consciously intend to. So am I not?
Well, don't try to put a name, because you will not be able to find any thought that confirms you what is that reality within you. That reality within you, you can only experience it. It is experientiable, but not cognizable. In other words, consciousness is not cognizable because there is no other consciousness to cognize it.
Right.
You don't see your own eyes,
But you experience them.
but you experience with your own eyes,
Okay.
right? So, le estaba diciendo que no puedes intentar, me decía, ¿qué hay de la intención consciente? Yo tengo la intención consciente de hacer algo. Y entonces estaba diciendo, no intentes poner un nombre o definir esa conciencia que hay en ti, que es la que en última instancia está que es el observador, que es lo que en última instancia es el hacedor, porque no es cognoscible. Y no es cognoscible porque esa conciencia, no hay otra conciencia que la pueda conocer, porque es la única conciencia que hay. Tú no ves tus propios ojos.
No.
Lo que puedes es experienciar esa conciencia. Entonces, no intentes definirla, sino simplemente experiméntala. No intentes definir a Dios, experimenta a Dios. You don't try to define God, you experience God. So we continue.
To the matter of attitude. What attitude do I have in life? And if every thought, positive or negative, has the element of love in it, then that negative thought soon passes away. Remember the same energy you're using in a positive thought or a negative thought. It's the same energy. The emphasis might not be the same, and the emphasis is created by our patternings. So anything that's patterned can be unpatterned. It's like taking a piece of string and tying it around your finger. Well, you do it this way, but you can also untie that piece of string. You see? So every pattern of our minds can be given a different aspect to it. And that is your 10% as the doer in practical life. The rest, the other 90%, is done for you automatically. Now, if he is the doer of everything, then why should you worry? You leave it to him. Yes, God, do what the hell you want to do. I'm not going to care. And when you stop caring of the petty little things of life, you just get into a worse mess. So stop being a mess and stop messing around.
Estabas explicando la web.
No, estoy con
Cuando
un
ya-
satsang de la parte devocional.
Pues esa me interesa. Venga, va. Podemos seguir, gracias. Perdón por la interrupción.
Aquí habla de una cosa muy importante de yo no soy el hacedor. ¿Qué quiere decir yo no soy el hacedor? ¿Quiere decir que como yo no soy el hacedor, que le den por culo a todo y entonces dejo de ocuparme de los pequeños detalles de la vida? No, así me meto en un lío peor. This is a very important aspect of what does it mean I'm not the doer. Means that I just, became I'm not the doer, so what the hell with everything? And then I forget the little details of life. And the little details of life is precisely karma yoga, that 10% that you have to put. That is your 10% of doership. That is that conscious intent. That is the 10% of that conscious intent that is required because, you accept you are not the doer, but you do your 10%. The 90% comes by itself and happens by itself.
No dejas de ocuparte, pero dejas de preocuparte.
Exactamente. No dejas de ocuparte, pero dejas de pensar que depende de ti. Tú eres el hacedor. Yo hago mi parte, que es un 10%, pero la hago disciplinadamente.
Life is something so beautiful. It is really to be appreciated. When you appreciate life, then you know the meaning of love. And when you know the meaning of love, you know the meaning of divinity. It's the same. Everything is the same. I love a person more, he who hates me. I mean, there's no one in the world that hates me. They love me to pieces. You'd be surprised I'm keeping myself together. Keep yourself together through the power of love. And therefore the scriptures, all scriptures say, love thy neighbor as yourself. But I would add on to that, not only your neighbor. Yes, my neighbor. That's my neighbor. This is my neighbor.
Y ese es el concepto de que te des cuenta de que las circunstancias, es decir, tu prójimo, lo que está próximo a ti, todo ello, no solo los humanos, todo lo que está alrededor tuyo, no es otra cosa que tú mismo. Ama a tu prójimo como a ti mismo, porque es que lo que tienes delante de ti es tú mismo. Luego, ¿cómo no lo vas a amar como a ti mismo? So this is an important concept that has to do with realizing that everything that surrounds you in your circumstances, which is your own creation, but it's also your neighbor in the sense that it is yourself. So love your neighbor as you love yourself, because what your neighbor, what is close to you, what is the things that are near you, proxim to you, that word, próximo comes in Spanish, everything near to you is in reality you yourself reflected like a mirror, like we saw yesterday. So how are you not going to love your neighbor as yourself? It is yourself expressed out there. It's the same relationship that the unmanifest, the manifestor, and the manifestation have. Is the same relationship that the impersonal God and the personal God have. The impersonal God manifests in the personal God, and you, which are the little personal God, manifest yourself in your circumstances. So it is your universe, it is yourself, so love your neighbor as yourself, because it is yourself, in fact. Realizing this, you start looking at your circumstances not as something separate from you or that has nothing to do with you, but you start looking at your circumstances as you would look at yourself in the mirror. And then they become yours. You own them. You become responsible. And you accept yourself. That is also important, because if you own them and become responsible but don't accept them, you say, oh, I should have another life. I should live in another planet. Then you are not accepting it. So responsibility, acceptance, devotion, which is what we are touching now, and finally surrender. ¿Traduzco esto? No hace falta, porque lo he dicho antes en español, ¿no?
Yes. So who is the doer? But I need to cognize, and that is why we have given this mind this thinking ability which separates you from an animal. And what should the mind be thinking? That everything in this world is good. Yeah. And when you recognize that everything is good, slowly the one O in good will be rubbed away. It will fade away, and there's only God. The problem is the mind.
It's a very simple idea. If everything is good and you train yourself in seeing the positive or the goodness in everything, eventually you start realizing that it's only God that's around you. One of the O's drops and good becomes God. And what doesn't allow you to realize that reality or actuality is precisely the mind with its opinions and its bullshit, because the mind is bullshitting most of the time.
And when you can transcend it, go beyond it and watch it act, then there's another part of you that will tell you, this part of the heart will tell you, the mind is playing tricks. Let it have fun. Who cares? You become the observer, and then nothing can affect you.
Cuando desarrollas esa capacidad de ser el observador de tus pensamientos y no creerte en ninguno de ellos, dejan de afectarte, dejan de ponerte o triste o alegre, dejan de dominarte. When you become the observer of your thoughts, and you regard thoughts as thoughts, and you don't believe any of them, you become non-affected by your thoughts. And then your thoughts are there, which is a good tool, but you know the heart is leading the day-to-day activity. And and the heart says to the mind, you do your own thing, that I am in charge. And that's it.
And what it really observes is not you, but the real doer. He is also the observer. So when you reach that area of being able to observe objectively, then the mind will not affect you. It will not affect you because you have become non-attached from the mind. You let the mind perform. Let the mind do what it is.
Puedes venir al horno.
But, okay.
Oh, it wants to do. To hell with it. And when that is ingrained within you, you will be pouring out that heart that is within you. A true master might analyze your mind, but his greater job is to open your heart. And when the heart is open, you become more and more receptive to everything around you, because the heart only sees and feels and acts in goodness, which is godliness. Ain't God good, huh? He sure is. So, when we stop thinking of ourselves as the doer, what happens is this, that we are surrendering to a higher force which is in us and all around us.
Ese acto de darte cuenta de todas estas cosas y de darte cuenta de la pequeñez de tu pequeña experiencia, es decir, tener la humildad y la sinceridad de reconocer la pequeñez de tu pequeña experiencia, que apareces por este planeta en la vastedad de este universo del que no sabes nada, y has nacido en una familia, te han contado unas cosas y vives con respecto a esos conceptos. Ese darte cuenta de que eso no es nada te permite rendirte a que hay algo por encima de ti que es lo que tú estás tomando conciencia de. So this act of realizing that the littleness of your petty little life, that you appear in this planet for a fraction of a millisecond in comparison of the vastness of this universe, realizing that you know nothing about it because you know what you have, the patternings, the things that you've been told in your school, in your family, a very minuscule concept of what this reality is. It allows you to start surrendering to this higher force which is governing the self and this universe. And that force which is within you and all around you, you surrender to that force, which is, the, again, responsibility, acceptance, devotion, surrender is the path of unfoldment.
But the easiest place to start from is that place in us. Because if you have some cognition and recognition of what is in you, you will automatically project it to everything outside you. That is how one starts. That's how one starts. Until you feel that there is nothing outside you. Everything is inside you. So this is the process that you start off with duality and you progress to qualified non-duality, and the last step is total non-duality.
Que simplemente significa que cuando empiezas este camino, empiezas desde la dualidad siempre, porque empiezas siempre sintiéndote como yo separado de lo otro. Tú sientes que hay una entidad que está separada del resto y te vives como una entidad separada, luego vives una experiencia dual, yo y lo otro, lo que no soy yo. Poco a poco, a través de las técnicas de meditación, de las prácticas espirituales, empiezas a darte cuenta experiencialmente de que no estás separado del otro, de que lo otro y tú están íntimamente unidos. Empiezas a darte cuenta experiencialmente de eso. Y entonces te empiezas a sentir una parte de un todo, como una hoja de un árbol, ¿no? Sigues percibiendo tu condición separada como hoja, pero te das cuenta que eres parte de un mismo árbol. Y en última instancia, el último paso, cuando te das cuenta de que ni siquiera eres hoja, te das cuenta de que eres todo el árbol. En realidad, lo único que es en ti es el árbol entero. Y esa es la no dualidad total. So, the path starts with duality, because always when we start the spiritual path, we start by feeling ourselves separate from the rest, the other. So this is me and the world. And normally the world is against me. And it's a terrifying force. Little by little, through meditation techniques and spiritual practices, you start realizing experientially that everything is interrelated, that everything going outside there is interrelated with everything going inside you. You start experiencing that, and you start considering yourself as part of a whole, like a leaf of a tree, and that's qualified non-duality. You still have the perception of your separateness as an individual entity, the leaf, but you start perceiving life as you are a leaf part of a tree, part of a whole. And the final step is when you realize that the only thing that is the tree, and that the tree is you, and that the whole tree is in that leaf. Because in fact that's the case. Each leaf has cells of that tree, and each cell has all the DNA of that tree. So all the information of the tree is in reality in every cell of that tree.
If everything is found to be within you, what can hurt you? Nothing can hurt you, because no one purposely would like to hurt themselves. Yeah? Yes. And with this sense, one can find greater happiness and peace. Now there are three things which you must indulge in: is sense, common sense, and nonsense. People think they don't even understand the word nonsense. We don't make sense of anything, and it's fun. The greatest humor in life is based on nonsense. And when you view it with common sense, you develop the real sense of what is nonsense. It's beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. So man should be a combination of all these three things: sense, common sense, and nonsense. And it's a greater art to be able to view nonsense with sense. You see the humor in it then. And you find life to be filled with fun.
This is a very also important concept of what you have to teach your students, which is these three aspects, which is sense, common sense, and nonsense. Sense. Sense, in Spanish, sentido, is direction. The direction you give to your life. The sense, the meaning you give to your life, which is a direction, basically. Sense. Common sense is the practical side of things. Whatever direction you have given to your life, day by day you apply your common sense in that direction. You are going to Ibiza, and life is the boat you are driving. Sense is the conscious intention of I go to Ibiza, the sense you give to life. Common sense is putting the sails in the proper way according to the wind that is going on and the sea that is going on that day to keep your direction to Ibiza. And nonsense is that there is no purpose in going to Ibiza. There is nothing, you are the totality, so what is the purpose of all this suffering? Nothing. It's all nonsense. There is no purpose. So then, when you see the nonsense of things, you see the humor in things, and then you laugh. That is why we have this motto, live, laugh, laugh, no? Because those are the three L's that apply. ¿Lo he explicado en español?
Perfectamente, no, pero te he entendido.
Sí, seguro.
Man, just on that quickly, so just on the humour thing, so you realise that it's nonsense going to Ibiza. That's the sense in the trip. But would you then think, well, let's not go to Ibiza?
No, nonsense is nonsense. I mean, nonsense means that whatever sense you have given to your life doesn't matter. You could be going to Ibiza or you could be going to Malaga. It doesn't matter where you are going, because what matters is not the outcome of that little life. What it matters is that this is happening anyway. Whatever you do or not do, this is God anyway. So there is no sense in it. There is no purpose in it.
Okay.
So then you see the comical side of things, that you can laugh about anything.
Because you now have developed the sense and the common sense to see the nonsense, and nonsense is humor. And you become humorous. Not humorous, humorous. For who wants a tumor on the brain? I think I must start doing operations on all of you. Cut away those tumors. See, it's a pressure on the brain. Unnecessary pressure. And that is why you find things going wrong or right, because of that pressure on the brain box.
When we start thinking, oh, this is going well, this is going right, or this is going wrong, it's just our mind telling us that things should be or shouldn't be this way or that way. Forget about that. Mind your own business. Things are things. Forget about what that pressure in the brain box that is making you things going wrong or right is telling you, because everything is going right. Everything is happening by itself. So you don't need to worry about that. You have to put your 10%, but that's all.
So this ease is a disease.
Yeah, this is the disease, exactly. Al final, debido a esos pensamientos que nos hacen decir que sí, esto me está yendo bien, esto me está yendo mal, esto va yendo bien, esa presión del cerebro que te dice que las cosas están bien o mal, las cosas son lo que son. Métete en tus asuntos, o sea, las cosas son lo que son y punto y final. Tú haz tu 10% y el resto déjalo ser. Y no necesitas esa presión en el cerebro. La mente, el 99% de las veces está pensando basura. ¿Y qué es lo que hace? Pues en vez de pensar tanto, siente la vida. No pienses la vida. Siéntela, aprende a sentir la vida. Cuando dicen ahora Italia y esto esto, como lo que lleva Rachel, what do you have in your t-shirt? Feminine is...
Oh, yesterday, the future is female.
The future is female. Dice, el futuro es female. Dangerous, if it is female, dangerous. Pero eso quiere decir que ya está bien de mente, que es más masculino. Hace falta sentir, hay que meter en la receta el sentir. Y el sentir es más femenino. Los hombres son más zotes para sentir. So, you have to not think about life, but feel life. And feel is more feminine than masculine. Mind is more masculine than feminine. So, if you want to be feminine, Rachel, start feeling and stop thinking bullshit.
There's another way out. Instead of having a brain in the head filled with sawdust. Yes. Yeah. Then you won't be able to think all the rubbish you think about. Huh? Yes. But feel, feel, feel. Feel the joy, feel the beauty. Yes. And you will see with clear eyes all the beauty around you. Let me wipe my eyes. You know, I was telling someone, the two most sensitive parts of me is my feet, the soles of my feet, and my eyes. You know why my feet has become so sensitive? It is because of walking around the stupid world. And I can feel all the rubbish that's going on in this world. And that's why my feet are so sensitive. And why are my eyes so sensitive? Because I see all the rubbish around me, which should not be there. But it's helped me by feeling with the feet and seeing with the eyes. It has helped me to become more and more compassionate. And it has made me more and more kind. It has made me feel more. That if you have a headache, I feel your headache. If you have a toe ache, I feel it too. And if you have a bottom ache, there's another word for that. I feel that too. It's a bit cold, isn't it? Huh? So tonight we must remember to bring a blanket down. No, you need that, darling. No, right here, you need it. Aren't you using that?
We're going to switch her. Let me take care of her.
Thank you. You see, I was feeling cold, and now you guys are trying to heat me up. Look at the contrast. And aren't both beautiful? Nothing wrong with coldness. It is nature. And nothing wrong with heat. So you accept them equally, with equal eyes. And when you can see things with equal eyes, you become one-pointed. And when one is one-pointed in any endeavor, life becomes more happy.
Que es otro concepto importante que un profesor tiene que transmitir a sus alumnos. Y es esa actitud romper, es decir, los seres humanos vienen con la actitud de huir, buscar la alabanza y huir de la crítica, digamos, buscar el aprecio y huir del desprecio, buscar el éxito y huir del fracaso. Entonces, hay que coger a frío y calor, éxito o fracaso, crítica, alabanza, por igual, y recibirlos por igual, a los dos. Está expresado en el poema Sí de Rudyard Kipling, ¿no? Es decir, ¿conoces ese poema? ¿Conocéis el poema If de Rudyard Kipling? Do you know the poem If of Rudyard Kipling? It is expressed in the poem. So you accept both failure and success, critics and praise, love and lack of love. You accept them both. You regard cold and heat as part of nature, and you accept them both equally. You don't run after one and escape from another, because if you do that, they trap you, and then you are caught in the law of polarities and you are fucked. That's the word. So accept accepting both sides of the coin is an essential part of the teachings we teach. Que es volver a lo que decía Gurras al principio de este satsang. Las monedas tienen dos caras y es parte esencial de estas enseñanzas transmitir eso, que la moneda tiene dos caras y donde hay placer hay dolor. Acepta las dos caras. ¿Quieres placer? Cuenta con el dolor. ¿No quieres placer? Bueno, no tendrás dolor, pero te pierdes los dos. Es decir, aceptas las dos caras de la vida, el frío, el calor, la crítica, la alabanza, y las aceptas por igual. Es decir, das la bienvenida a la crítica y a la alabanza. You accept them both equally, very important, equally. You accept the critics in the same way you accept the praise, equally. You are more accepting of the praise than of the critics. You accept both equally. And that allows you to transcend the polarity in which we all live.
Yes. So scatterbrains, gather yourself together. Every sentence I would speak is a poem in itself. And poetry is something that wells up within you. It's not the mind at work, it is the heart at work, expressing itself spontaneously. And that is what we need. That's what we need. That spontaneity of life, where we just flow, and flow very gracefully. And when you flow through life gracefully, you attract more and more grace to yourself. That's your 90%. Do you understand? Your 10% is just to be gracious. And the 90% of grace just dawns onto you. It does not wait to come in by the door. No. It's always waiting at the door. And your 10% is in opening the door to let it in. If the room is stuffy, what do you have to do? You just have to open the window, and the air, fresh air, will come in by itself. You don't need to go and call it. Like another analogy I've used somewhere, I don't know where. You don't need to go and chase butterflies all over the field. Make your garden beautiful, and the butterflies will automatically come. Yes, there.
Y es que el Bhakti Yoga, el amor, como a las mariposas, no las puedes llamar para que vengan. Pero lo que sí puedes hacer es poner un jardín lleno de flores y las mariposas vienen solas. Que lo que quiere decir es, ocúpate de tu jardín y ya verás que las mariposas vienen solas. So love and devotion is something that you cannot impose on yourself in the same way that you cannot call butterflies to your garden. But you can make your garden beautiful and full of flowers, and butterflies will come by themselves. So mind your own business and do your 10%. And the rest comes by itself. That devotion will naturally dawn into your life.
Yeah. And that is how life is lived. That is how the beauty of life is received. When you say, in gratitude, in thanksgiving, that Lord, You have been so merciful to me. The trials and tribulation anyone goes through is created by themselves, by their own little minds, of which they use very little. Because if they had to use more and more of the mind, then they would be able to comprehend everything, become aware of everything. And in that awareness, going a little step further, you'd find everything to be so, so beautiful. When you see things around you to be beautiful, then you attain unto yourself greater and greater beauty. How aware are you? Now don't look up. How many lights are in this room? 11. I'm the 12th one. He's counting, Paddy. Yes, yes. That's what it's all about. Everything can be created into fun and laughter. Everything. You can be very serious in the wisdom you impart, but at the same time, you also know how to laugh. Now we're coming back not to the tumor but to humor. Yes, that is the way life is lived. I'm cutting, I've only done 45 minutes. I'm cutting it a bit short. I'm not feeling too well, I'm trembling a bit. We'll make it up tonight. Okay then. Thank you.
Bueno, son las 2. Me quedo ahora contigo. Vamos a arreglar lo de tal. Now, so 2 o'clock. I'm going to deal as they go today at 5. I'm going to show him where the documentation things are, which is the Spanish documentation. So you don't bother. I will show you where the English thing is this afternoon, that we have more time. Y vamos a la cocina, que así estoy también atento a...
Perfecto.